30. Hi, everybody. Can you hear us? Yes. Okay. For some reason, the video isn't coming up here, but I see it up there. So, and you can see us too. Yes, Linda?
Justin, yeah, I had sent a text. Yes, I can hear you and see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Linda, yes, good. Right. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Gary Parnay, and I'd like to call to order the Public Works Board meeting for February 6, 2025. Can we all go around the room and introduce ourselves? I am Gary Parnhagen here.
I am Justin Weaver.
David Marston.
George Crowder. Tyler Bresman.
And with us as guests and as our partner is
Ryan Lance with Crawford and Associates Engineering.
great. Okay, so according to the agenda, we have some continuation on discussions, particularly on providing the credit process. We also need to be discussing how to get the word out to the public as to what's going on, and a few other things as well. But let's jump to the new business first, and then we come back and continue. I quite possibly some of the information that we discuss in new business will inform our decisions as we move forward. So, Ryan, would you give us a report from the project manager?
Sure. So I think around the January period, we had submitted the draft version of the assessment document to the city. It took into account pretty much all the properties within the city. I had a couple conversations with some people with the county. There's a few parcel cards that don't actually align with the parcel. Some are, I think some are easements or some are portions that are taxed and some are not. So the total percentage is around 99%. We've evaluated pretty much the whole city, and we provided this to the Public Works Board as a draft. There's still some work that's needed. Part of that I think you're going to discuss tonight with the discussion of exemptions and prior work coverages and things like that. We did come up with a total assessment value for the city without including the exemptions or prior work. It came in just over $400,000. We also did provide a little summary. It talks about, which were those, how many lots were residential, some, which lots were commercial, sliver lots, and some of those other pieces, just more for the better good of the formula to understand what type of lots are. So the next step for that is going to be to finalize that. And I know some of the dates are probably going to need to be determined with the county as to when they need certain pieces of information, and we're kind of moving that forward. On a side to that, we're also working on preparing the contract documents and bid specifications for the work on 5th, 6th, and 7th. It's kind of been an ongoing thing. We did put some effort into the assessment documents, so we've been shifting back to the preparation of these bid packages and documents for the work on 5th, 6th, and 7th. We've kind of gone over this before, but the goal here would be to bid this project as a lump sum project with a bunch of alternates to be added in if the funding is available. And I know the city has a certain amount of money currently in a fund for this type of work. And the goal would be to get the maximum amount done in a calendar year using the funds that are available and not having to go back out to bids. But also give the city, if for some reason the full project and all the alternates weren't awarded, you do get a schedule of cost to some of the other works. And this work is solely related to intersections and curb ramps and making the intersections from 5th, 6th, and 7th more compliant. And we've started to do some of that work. There's still a little bit of field work that needs to be done, but for the most part, we have a pretty good start on all that material.
When do you think you'll be able to distribute the RFP?
So that will have to be a full bid package that's put out publicly. And with that, what generally we would pursue, my goal is in the month of February is to try to finalize enough of a draft that we could bring and present it either at the March meeting or before then get it to the Public Works Board and for their review. And from there, if there's any questions or comments, finalize it in beginning of March to then you're ready to go out to bid either by the end of March or in the beginning of April. Generally, we see that, the best time of year to start at the beginning of the year, just the contractors are looking for work and their schedules aren't too booked up. I know we've coordinated with the DPW a little bit about there's some work on some streets. So we're trying to be thoughtful and not not prioritize those areas just to, if there's work being done elsewhere, don't want to be in the way of those things or their other projects.
And those are the intersections on Columbia Street, correct?
Correct. Yep, correct.
Um, So with potential that we get the bid out in early, end of March, early April, is that still early enough on in the season to get, more attractive responses?
Yeah, I mean, there's contract will bid a project anytime. We already saw that with the work
Sure.
we've done, to date. It just gives the most flexibility in schedule. When you run into the end of the year, it's sometimes harder to fit a project in, you know, with asphalt plants closing or concrete prices changing and things like that for weather. So you have the full construction season to do a project like that. So usually you see more favorable pricing and more competitive pricing too, because contractors are looking to fill their schedules, not take on
Yeah.
something extra. So.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. You're gonna stay for the rest of the meeting? Yeah, I'd like you to join our discussion.
Can I just,
Please.
thanks for that report, Ryan.
Mhm.
The 400,000 figure, that's essentially like a ballpark using the formula that you developed in the spreadsheet.
It's the city's formula that
Right,
we,
yeah,
we,
Yes.
I guess, populated based on, county tax rolls and, county tax information for each of the parcels listed within the city. Yeah.
Right, aligning the parcel to our formula.
There is a list that, Justin and I were discussing earlier. There is a list that the city has already listed as exempt.
Mhm.
We've taken into account that list. A lot of them were like city-owned properties and some of those, properties that actually don't have, buildings on some, so they would have been exempt anyways, but, we did account for those, and we haven't gone further with any of the veterans or firefighters or, prior works.
Okay.
And so just for the record, inherent in your report is that you're able to provide, the county is able to receive the information you're providing them and work with it.
Yeah.
And likewise, you're receiving their data as well, so it's,
Correct.
yes, good, great. Justin, you have anything to report?
Other than the, things that, in terms of how people can submit their, receipts for past work done and the email address, do you want me to start talking about that? Or is
Let's
this more
hold
the,
off on that.
okay.
Okay,
As far as ADA things, the only thing is, the last part of the DRI project, the Fergari, Fishing Village, I've been working with Star White House. And we submitted a grant, called the Hudson River Estuary Grant, which hopefully will get us $160,000. And the ADA component I really focused on, and this money will help us create a fishing platform that would be ADA compliant and accessible. So even though there's not any actual work being done on the sidewalks per se, which this board is focused on, the ADA component of what I do, I just want to let you know I'm doing that in the meantime. So.
I appreciate getting that update and thank you for that work.
Sure.
I think, an ADA compliant, fishing, spot is fantastic.
Yes, that's all from the ADA hat.
Great. Okay, so, let's focus on, the mailing from from the city.
Yes, so, I checked with, Sherry Baker and, Sam Oliver in DPW, and they are right upstairs here in City Hall. Their mailings go out every January, April, July, and October. So 4 times a year, the water sewer bills go out. They will be happy to stuff any information that we want them to stuff on our behalf in the next bills that go out in April, but they said that we would have to get them whatever info the first week of March. And I did bring an example. It has to be 1 page that they can just fold up. This is one that went out in July of 2022. So we can get a lot of information or, whatever, but it can't be too heavy where that it affects their postage. That is how it was
Mhm.
described. Otherwise, I guess all hell breaks loose. But, we can certainly stuff information which would go to the public and let them know that, this is what we're doing. The assessments are being figured out and it will be affected on next year's, tax bills.
Okay, let's, we'll table that and get back to what we want to include in there, what needs to be included in there, too. Okay, that's great. Now, so we're talking about, one of the things we need to address is exemptions. The veterans and the firefighters, exemption or credit status, will be received from the county's database, right? And we've seen that. You able to acknowledge that, Brian?
The one thing that I don't think they have is the firefighters. I think that had to be renewed, if I remember correctly. Volunteer firefighters had to renew that. And I think there was some questions with the city as if they were including, firefighters, other districts, if they live within the city boundaries. I remember there was some conversations about how that was gonna work. I don't know if that was ever finalized, but.
It wasn't, and, we need to see, we want to be consistent, obviously. But I'm just wondering if that information is flowing from the county as it stands. Is the veteran exemption or credit status flowing to you?
We have not received that yet. I don't know if there's a date. If I remember an email that said there was a date at which that was gonna be provided. I don't recall the date off the top of my head. But no, I don't think we have that yet.
Okay.
That was from Suzette Bowie, right, with Real Property? I
Yes.
believe she said March 14th.
I was gonna say March, but I didn't wanna say the day.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that she said she was gonna circle back at, March. That's sticking out in my head. I can probably find that email. But
Well, I can tell you that the county's deadline for applying for a veteran status is March 1st. But
And that would be effective for the following year or the current year? It would be the
I
fiscal
think
year
for the
starting,
current year,
current year, starting
Yeah.
April 1st.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think we need to look into that a little bit more and nail that down. But with the deadline on the county of March 1st, we're gonna have to get word out other than a mailing. That if you're a veteran and you're living in the city and you haven't applied for this credit on the county level, you need to do that. It's an easy enough process. Okay. And, we need to look into the firefighter status as well. Okay. Let's discuss, so those are the two exemptions, and we need to come back to them for credits. Let's discuss applying credit to previously done work, right? That's a big issue. Someone has said that they estimate there maybe be about 100 properties.
yeah, I mean, I guesstimated that last meeting.
Okay.
I don't know how close I am to that figure, but I can't imagine that there's gonna be more than that. I mean, if anywhere near that,
Yeah.
to be honest, our first year doing this.
And this is not going to be, well, I'm not sure what we have to do going down the road, but it seems to me it's really a one-shot deal in terms of addressing roughly 100. We bounced around last meeting, who should be doing that? And, just to refresh, I kind of felt like that should be almost a city, role.
Who should be doing what exactly? Collecting the,
Yeah, yeah.
so I've taken some liberties
Go ahead.
here. So I, have worked with our IT department, Joe Vining.
Yeah.
And we created a new email address, a City of Hudson email address, which is called sidewalks@cityofhudson.org. So they call it a shared email address. So in addition to each of ours, our normal email addresses, we are the only ones that have access to that secondary email address, which is Sidewalks. And that is specifically set up for proof, receipts, photos of past work done. And once we go public with that email address, people can submit their proof of any work done. That's one avenue. The other avenue is if people want to come in person, I've talked to the girls upstairs in DPW. They can deliver their proof, their receipts, their photos. They only ask that it's in a sealed envelope with, all the information that you have on the agenda, the name, the address, and all of the photos, any receipts, everything in that sealed envelope, which then they will give to me and I will bring to you guys somehow. So that's an email option, that's an in-person option. And also we have the Hudson Hub app. So people can submit via the Hudson Hub app as well. There was not any mad scientist work that needed to be done. There is already a category on the Hudson Hub app called sidewalk repair. So they can click that, they can take photos in real time, they can upload photos that they already have. They can attach any documents, any receipts, and they can hit send, and that will go directly to Sam Oliver in DPW. And then she can either then send all of that to the sidewalks email address, or she can print it and give it to me. So there's 3 options in which people can submit.
That's outstanding. So the real question, not the real question, the question now is, we have it. Who does what with it?
Right, who decides?
What do we need to do with it? We need to ensure that it's complete, right?
Well,
That we have everything we need.
I looked it up in the charter. And it's stated in the charter that the lot owner must provide sufficient evidence to the Commissioner of Public Works. Welcome to our board, Tyler. Or his designee. So in the charter, it's named the commissioner should be the one
When
in
you say the
charge.
charter, you mean the law?
So we have a city code and we have a city charter. So it is the law. Yes. So
Okay.
there were lots of proposed, there's proposed guidelines for the sidewalk improvement district. I went through all of the different proposals and printed up all the different versions. And the final version came in February of 2023. And that was right before it was actually written into law and added to our charter in March of 2023. So as it stands, that is the final say-so, that it's been stated that it should go to the Commissioner of Public Works, which would be Tyler in this case, or if Tyler decides to name someone else to take custody of those things. So that's where it stands
How
right
do
now.
you feel about that?
I think it's fair. Obviously I'll work with Rob and DPW to go to each one of these places on all these submittals and we'll decide from there.
And do you feel that between the two of you, DPW and yourself, you have the technical knowledge to be able to say that, yes, that's met ADA compliance?
I think so, yeah.
Well, and also it's in the charter where if there's any questions, we send out code enforcement to look at any questionable properties, where someone is claiming that they've done work, and then it goes to you and you check it out and you still have questions, then the next level would to be have.
I think it's gonna be pretty much cut and dry whether or not it is. If there's something that's questionable, right, then that's when we.
Yeah, I think we're thinking of worst case scenarios right now, and I don't think these things will be the norm, but it's important to talk about before we get into all of it. But that's what the charter says, that, the commissioner will go out, and then if there's still a question, then code enforcement goes out.
This is a really ignorant question. Do you need a formal permit from code enforcement office to do sidewalk repair?
You are required, there are people that go ahead and do their sidewalk work on their own, they're not supposed to, and then code enforcement can get involved. And I believe there could be fines, but the way it's supposed to go is you're supposed to come to DPW, let DPW know that you want to do work on your sidewalk, and then pay $25, which gives you a permit to go out and do the work. And that way, the whole city is aware that you're doing the work,
Yeah.
and then you're supposed to report it back to the city once you've completed the work. So that code enforcement can go and check and make sure everything was done. And you are given a copy of the code as well, once you apply for that permit,
Yeah.
so that you can take that code, and a regular person isn't gonna understand a lot of the language in there. But it's assumed that you take the copy of that code and you hand it to your workers,
Right,
so that they follow it like a guideline.
and I assume that's been effective for 10 years.
That has,
So
is
we
there,
should have that information.
yeah, can we get a readout for COE? Yeah, I mean, just to get a better sense of 100 properties,
Yeah.
500, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I think that's sufficient evidence, if anything is, which could slide out any one of the number of the applications, say like, oh yeah, we see the permit.
Margaret has a question. Are we taking questions now, or you wanna wait?
Let's, I want to stay on task
Okay.
here. So we can get that information, that's with code enforcement
What exact?
permits.
I think Sam up in DPW would have all the permits on file. Yeah, because they have to get the permits and submit the permits to Sam. So Sam and DPW should have, well, a record of all the permits.
Okay,
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
things easier.
Yeah, I feel like it is a big ask to pull that much data, 10 years worth of permitting, but. And I don't wanna. Overextend the welcome they're already providing by
well,
taking our
it
stuff,
might be,
but.
it might be easily accessible.
I can check with her to see
Yeah, would
how,
you check?
how
'Cause
easy
that'll-
or difficult it would be to.
Not only will it be good for us to just have, cause then we can.
So
Slide
that
this
covers,
through
that's
quicker,
the
but-
suspenders,
Yeah.
plus everything else.
Yeah.
So on that, we would have the request as well as, you mentioned the completion, right? Do we
Yeah.
need to sign off on it?
Yep, and there would be the list of the contractors that were used, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So let's, if I may, so that I think qualifies as sufficient. I feel like we probably need to suss out what our other sufficient evidence is that will
Yeah.
take.
We do. Well, we need the receipts, right? Because the permit is, does the permit cover the cost?
I've not looked at the permit, so.
I don't know either, but we'll certainly need the receipts. Invoices, receipts, and if necessary, proof of payment. Do we want photographic evidence?
Yes.
Do we want something from the contractor?
You mean like a copy of the invoice or something?
Well, their warranties, that's at compliance and so forth?
Might be onerous.
What would you do if it was, self-performed work? Just to throw that out there. If I was a homeowner and I said I could do my
Yeah.
own sidewalk, I'm not hiring a contractor, just following your process, that'd be how I'll.
It's a good point, Ryan.
It is a good point.
And most
We-
contractors don't guarantee sidewalks. It's not like a bridge where you go and guarantee.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so receipt, proof of payment, photos.
The date of work completed will be on that. The cost, photographic, you mentioned that. Do we need a detailed description of work? Or is that covered in the permit?
That's another question for DPW and Sam.
Okay, we'll leave these open
Yeah.
and we'll see if the permit covers, and if it covers most of the work, then, I'd like to see if it's easy enough for us to do that versus having our citizens have to, pull that together.
One other thought might be as well, when you're having a conversation, is if the permit doesn't include some of those things, the effort it may take to add that to the permit for the future. So if there's a key piece of information that would make this easier for the future of the city.
Excellent point, although, we not have to address this again, right? But to your point. I mean, from here on out, we're taking on responsibilities, so, maybe in the next year, we'll continue, or two even, we'll continue to have people submit credits for work done that they couldn't wait for us to do.
It's important to also note, sorry, that this only covers the last 10 years.
Right.
And it's from the date of completion of the work.
Right.
That's when it begins. So that's when the 10-year span
Yeah.
begins.
Yeah.
What's our, so we listed receipts, invoices, SOWs, payments, photos, permits. What's our minimum required submission? Like it,
Are you saying like they can't submit for $5?
no, like, like, are we
I
saying every
get
single
this
one of
work, I
these?
don't have any records of it, but
Yeah,
come on
here
over
are
and take a
some
look at it.
photos. Here's a canceled check. I have photos and a canceled check. I don't have anything from a contractor. I don't have a permit. I don't have any of that stuff. Does that meet
I
the
think-
threshold?
I think because this is, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe we want to get really rigid right off the bat, but I think because this is the first year, if people are going to the level of claiming that they've done work, if they don't have 7 out of 7 necessary pieces of proof, we should still entertain and look and see if it's sufficient enough
Agreed.
that they only have 3.
Give them some sort of an exemption.
Yeah.
And then we can iron it out and get a little bit more strict with it, the following year. But I think just to get this going,
George,
we
you
should
gonna
give
agree
people a
with that?
chance.
Want to tag on to something you brought up about the homeowner doing this whole thing. I've got a sidewalk that's got a stamp on it. And contractors used to stamp their sidewalks, like I was up in Toronto, and everywhere you went, you saw, here's a contractor stamp, and it had the date on it. And I've got a date on mine from 1928. Now, not that that's neither here nor there, but, it'd be helpful maybe for the future contractors, maybe this is something to talk with Craig about. Requiring the contractors, like, look, can you stamp your work? So that from there on out, you've got a record of what this was, when this work was done. And I think, to be honest with you, I think having the permit is, if they have the permit, we should make it like, if you got the permit, we don't care about anything else. Because that means they've gone through Craig, they followed the specs. What the cost is, we don't care. If they.
Well, we do, because the formula in terms of their credit is based on,
Their cost,
yeah,
okay, yes, right, you're right,
yeah.
you're right.
So, point taken, but I want to get back to, these gentlemen have both felt like, yeah, we're gonna go out of our way. Even if they don't give us, if they give us the minimum documentation, we're gonna take a look at it. I'm in agreement with that. I just wanted,
I think you can look at concrete and tell pretty quickly,
Right.
when was it built? How's it sound is it?
so we're all in agreement with that. Everyone's agree with that, say aye. Okay, cool. So we'll agree. I agree with that. Great. Okay, so we were talking about, can we realistically get the assessment out to the public? Have that ready by the first week of March? So we can, include the particulars in the mailing that goes out beginning of April.
On CNA's end, I'd say as soon as we can be given the materials from the county on exemptions.
Which is the 14th, and so it's already shot, yeah.
Unless, again, there could be a conversation with the county, we could use, last year's exemption list. And it would be, current, and then anyone who would apply between, I'm not sure how the cutoffs work, if it's, after a certain date, you won't show up until the next year, but. We could start with that if that's the path we'd like to go with. Or I don't know if it's better to say, we're not gonna include any until after this date. I don't know if there's a benefit to that.
Well, the assessment isn't taking effect until 2026, so I'm not sure if there's a rush in having to get that information. I'd rather it be complete when we do send it out.
Yeah, I think I would tend to agree with you, Gary.
Okay.
And that starts January 1, 2026, right?
Yeah. Dave, you had brought up the idea of maybe putting a few samples as to, here's a typical property, this is what they're gonna end up being assessed.
I really think enhancing, like you guys said last meeting, enhancing this breakout.
Well, I've already taken the liberty.
Wow.
Let me pull this up.
Yeah.
Eight is just
Man,
not-
you know, what are you eating for breakfast? dude?
So this is our City of Hudson website, and you see this is, the, oh, why is that not coming up?
It was there for a second.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Why is it not working? Darn it. It was there for a second, huh? Let's see.
Can you present from Teams?
Your icon for showing your desktop.
Let's see. It's not coming up either. I'm
So,
sorry, well.
Just tell us.
Yeah, anyway, if you go on the City of Hudson, website, and you go to boards and committees, and then you select Public Works Board, I have created a category that's right there on the front page that says Sidewalk Improvement District. There's a drop down, and I've uploaded, the charter that I've handed out to all of you, so people don't have to go digging around on the website trying to find the charter, trying to find the subsection that talks about the Sidewalk Improvement District. It's right there on our page, on our committee page, right there. And then I also uploaded the info sheet, specifically this, the formula that will show exactly how we have come to the assessment figures that we've come to. So I think that is the easiest, less headache route for us, instead of trying to get into the guts of the system and put an actual calculator on there. That's gonna cost the city money to get engineering done behind the scenes in the guts of the website. At least this way, people can click on the document and see exactly $100 for residential property, 50 for residential lots without a sidewalk, 200. And then there are 3 separate examples for, you know, if you fit into this category. And I think that way it's transparent enough. People can play around with the numbers and do it themselves without actually having a calculator where people are questioning, are they putting in the right numbers? This is all here and it's a document, and both of those things are on the website right now.
And do we wanna put a couple of these examples on possibly that letter that goes out as well, if we have room?
If we can include it on one page, maybe if we have those examples,
Yeah.
you know, on one side, and then all the other information on the other side, we can, I think that's important.
Or at the very least, refer them and let them know where they can
Yes.
get this and
Show them the link right
Yeah,
there.
because it really is buried in it.
Let's talk about the letter. Should we, given it's due before our next meeting?
We have, yeah, because if it's going out March,
I don't know what I'm doing.
if it's going out, it's going out the first week of March, right? Our next meeting is March 6th.
Right.
So I think that maybe we should, you know, populate this letter and then maybe send it around to our emails and
Yeah.
just,
I agree.
you know, kick back some info that way.
Okay, I'll put a draft together.
And really, just to sort of go ahead and click on that. So really what we want to get at is the dates. Right? Deadlines at the county level, deadlines from us, initiation of the program. Cause I even need to get my head around that.
Exemptions.
Yep. And then sort of our approach with what is sufficient evidence. Examples or whatever, right, that we talked about. What else do we want in there? Sample formula, if there's room. Cause it's our first sort of socializing it with the residents, right? It's not,
And it's universal,
yeah,
so we want to take advantage of it.
yep,
Okay, I'll work on something, get it out to everyone.
thanks, Gary.
Okay?
And-
you could take that with you. That's an example of the mailing that went out in 2022.
Thank you.
So we have an idea, rough draft of
Yeah.
what information was shared.
But no one remembers this, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Hey, there might be some residents that remember it though.
you're right about that. Okay,
Justin, when you explored all the submission options, thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
For the Hudson Hub app, was there an upload limit?
I
You know?
didn't look to see about limits.
Like if someone takes a high res photo and then they go to,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can look into
I
that.
don't wanna offer it and then we, you know what I mean, we get a bunch of.
just stumbled, but
Well, you know what?
But it's still another great
Stumbled,
option,
you
you
know,
can't use.
you're not
an email.
allowed that in this.
And if they're an app-minded person and that happens, they can always submit it through the,
Yeah,
through the sidewalks
email,
email.
so we'll include all
Yeah.
that. Okay.
One question going back, step with the letter, the mailings. Is there anyone that wouldn't get those mailings? Any property like, is there any parcels that wouldn't get that mailing or does everybody get that mailing? I was thinking if there's a government building or something like that, or that would be subject to the fees or things like that.
Well, the people that are gonna get it are whoever's paying the water and sewer bill.
Which is everyone.
Again, I was asking the general, because if someone doesn't have you could have a parcel that doesn't have a structure on, I guess that'd be a vacant lot. So that wouldn't account for, and they'd be a zero to the tax number.
Such a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody in the group here have anything else to bring up? I think we've covered a lot of ground.
Margaret has had her hand raised for a while. Do we want to entertain her?
Well, once we know
I
that we're
gotcha.
finished here, we good? Yeah. Okay, so I just want to finish up here on the process. So we have the three ways at this point in time of information coming in. And then it's all going to you.
Well, the emails will come to all of us, but at the end of the day, if there's a discrepancy, then it's me.
Well, when you say discrepancy,
If there's something that we, they've obviously, these emails and these pictures and these photos show something that's possibly wrong. And then it's, I guess it's my due diligence to get out there, which is fine.
Mhm.
But I feel as a committee, we might be able to check 80 of the 100 right off.
okay, cool.
And we can take a meeting to do that, right?
Yeah.
We could use our monthly time to.
That's right.
If we don't have other pressing issues, I think, the snowball is getting larger and larger.
It is, you're right.
Or we
So,
could just
but yeah, we can do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
If it ends up.
Like, there's no, sunshine law, New York state laws around any of that process having to be public, the review process, do we know?
And
It's a good question.
You know how like if we're all meeting, but it's not a meeting, there are
It's
certain,
an executive session.
yeah, there's certain laws around whether or not you're allowed to do that.
transparency.
Yeah, like this New York Sunshine Law, I guess, is the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
I guess if
we can
we're,
ask, our attorneys on that. I'm not sure because this is more, how transparent are we when we develop the water bill? That's just a mechanism, so I kind of. Okay, open the floor to the public.
Sure.
Margaret, sorry to hold you
All
up.
right, hang on, I just have to unmute her. I think you are unmuted, Margaret. Go ahead.
Justin, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Yes. So the comment that was just made about meetings, open meeting law requires that whenever there is a quorum of any public group, that it has to be a public meeting. And you can find all of that on NICOM. One or two of you meeting together and talking about things, that's fine. But if you have a quorum of people from your committee, that it requires to be a public meeting. That's a pretty straightforward thing. It's not complicated. I had raised my hand earlier because,
Margaret,
and
can you-
Justin,
can I
sorry,
ask you though?
sorry,
sort of-
just a moment. Justin, I really want to thank you for saying that I'd had my hand raised. I raised it a while back because you were talking about the Hudson app.
Yes.
I am a total, as you probably know, non-social media person, and a lot of people are not social media people. And so the Hudson app is great, but that's not what a lot of people do. So I just wanted to mention that. And then also when you were talking about whether people have had work done, etc. I had some comments on that, but it was like 20, 30, 20 minutes ago. So it's not even relevant anymore. Um, but I think it would be helpful if at certain points in your meeting, you stop and pause and say, are there any public comments? But Gary, that's up to you how you want to run that. But Justin, I really, really want to thank you for flagging the fact that I had my hand raised. But open meeting law, you can just go out onto New York State websites, get the information. Whenever you have a quorum of a committee, that has to be a open public meeting. One or two of you, if you have a committee of 5, as long as 2 of you are just chatting together, that's fine. If 3 of you are meeting and discussing city business or whatever, you need to be in that's a public meeting.
I think
That's the rules.
Margaret, I think we understand that aspect, but if we're on email and we're all on email and we're discussing back and forth on email, does that qualify as a public meeting?
It may is this David?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it may very well because that becomes group emails and even group texts can become meetings. And so I would suggest that you confer with the attorneys either for the city or for, well, probably for the Common Council. Cheryl Peck is the Common Council. Since you were a subcommittee of the Common Council, I would recommend talking to Cheryl Peck about that. But NICOM is also a very good resource. NICOM is New York Commission of Mayors, and they provide legal guidance to municipalities. You have to be very, very careful about group emails where every member of the council, every member of the committee or council or whatever is participating. That becomes a meeting. Text messages, group text messages are another thing that you need to be very careful about.
great, thank you.
Anyone else?
That is it.
Okay,
Yeah,
Motion
so
to adjourn.
Justin, just
Yes.
one other thing.
Sure.
I've been here for 15 years, and over that time, I've done many little repairs to my corner sidewalk here on the 5th and Union. I don't have any receipts of anything. I think, whatever. I could get you photographs, but I don't think I can get any credit for anything, and I certainly don't have any receipts. And on the issue,
Margaret, did you request it? Did you put in a permit for the work?
no, of course I didn't.
Okay.
It's like my sidewalk, it was garbage. My next door neighbor, he was redoing a piece of his sidewalk. He's like, hey, we got some more concrete. We can do another slab on your sidewalk and fix that. And yeah, I'm like, hey, great, sounds good. So we did that. And then I did another piece on the other side. Uh, there's a lot of that kind of stuff that's gone on. Yes, I can send you photographs. I can't send you photographs of what it looked like before. I'm fine with forgetting about it. But I don't have the Hudson app. I've not received any information from this group about what's going on. I haven't received any emails, anything in my mail about it. And I think that the public need more information. I'm fine with the fact that over 15 years I've fixed up some things. That's fine. I'm not worried about that. But I'm just saying the general public is sitting there not knowing anything, and maybe they fixed up some things, and maybe like they and their neighbor, they were like, okay, yeah, let's do this slab, let's do that slab. But yeah, there's a vacuum here of information. And we're not all on the Hudson app.
You don't have to be, luckily, because Justin got, Sam and
Sure.
Sherry to graciously accept in-person submissions, or you can use the email sidewalk.
Sidewalks
Yeah,
at cityofhudson.org.
Justin, I didn't
Three
notice
options.
that. No, Justin, I didn't notice that. But how would I even know as Joe Hudson
Well, this-
resident?
Well, we just
Yeah, this
got
is-
to that today,
yeah,
Margaret,
this is
and
all
we
new.
will be getting information out.
Yeah, this isn't like we've been sitting on this. This has been a constant work in progress, and we're
Okay.
finally at this point. And I think that's why we've been very cautious to put any information out until we've gotten to this point. And there will certainly be lots of information on the city website as we cement all of the work that we've been doing. But for sure, when it comes to communication, I for one am as clear and open as anyone, and I think this board is as well.
No.
And the minutes and my reports to the common council have been regular.
Sorry, let me finish with Justin. Justin, I really appreciate that.
Sure.
Just remember that most people are not actually going onto the city website. And I think at some point during this meeting, there was some comment about putting information into the water bills. That's really, that is fantastic, because we all get a water bill. And then that's where we get the information. Everybody gets that. Not
Well-
everybody's online, not everybody's looking at
Right.
an app.
And that's why, I stated earlier, the water bills go out 4 times a year.
Yep,
The first ones go out in January, and we were not at a point
Yep.
to stuff anything in anybody's water bills in January. But now that we're here, they're going out immediately in the next mailing, so.
No, I think that's fantastic, because that's probably the best way to reach 100% of people in the city.
Right,
think
and I agree with you, not everybody is, on an app or, tech savvy, so we're trying to cover all of our bases for everybody.
No, thank you, Justin. I think the water bill approach is spot on, and I thank you for that. Thank you.
Great, you're welcome.
Okay. Move to adjourn.
Second.
Third,
Thank you, John.
fourth, fifth. Thank you, everyone.
Are we offline?
We